Welcome to the Clutch Burners podcast. This is your home for stick shift drag racing, stick shift tech. And tonight we have a host of awesome guests. I mean, just look at these faces. It's like models. We got one with hair and makeup that was going on earlier. So over there, Rich Guido, the 2017 Drag Week Stick Shift Shootout winner. There's 2 W's for win. That's right. Woo!
And then that there is Bill Armstrong. He is twisted another input shaft. Bill Armstrong. I was trying to think of a nickname for you or something, but yeah, I can't. We don't have any. I don't see anything about Drag Week and you here. So you read the next one.
All right. So we've got, and I'm really excited about these guests tonight. We have the 2021 Drag Week Stick Shift Shootout winner and holder of the best trophy, John Puckett.
Hey, that's me.
And then we got this other handsome fella there, fresh from makeup and vocals. And now, Frank, you're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure you were the 2016 and the 2018.
There's 2. I don't know. Yeah, 2016 for sure.
Yeah, because you gave me the trophy, and then I think I gave it back to you.
Quite possible. John has the trophy. You could just look at it. It's on there.
Yeah, I was going to say we should get John to show it to us on the screen.
Yeah.
I wish I had that. I wish I had the trophy with me, but it's not with me right now.
Well, it's in the Puckett Museum in a glass case, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. We'll call it a museum.
It's in the museum with that giant check that he received for winning a national competition.
Oh, that's on his wrist. All right. So, again, this is going to be freaking awesome. So, let's start with John, since I introduced him first. So, John, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your business, and there's so much that I'm super jacked about to talk about you that we'll get into it, but go.
Okay. John Puckett. I was born in Erie, Pennsylvania. Spent a lot of time that area and ended up moving to Des Moines, Iowa with my mom years and years ago. I'm a professional auto mechanic. I've worked for my old job for 27 and a half years. I was a heavy line diesel mechanic on medium duty and light duty trucks. Probably just recently changed a different position at a CarMax where I work on used cars all day long now. So a little bit different pace, but I'd have to say one of the things when I started getting into cars, it was something my dad had done for me. My first vehicle was a Volkswagen Bug, 1972 Super Beetle, painted by Earl Shive.
Ooh.
Some may know what that is, some may not, but
home of the $300 paint job.
Oh, I don't even think it was that. I think it was $179.
Oh, that was that was like a Friday deal.
Yeah, for sure.
And so my dad has grown up around Mustangs, and his actual family owns an 8th Mile drag strip here in Iowa, in Humboldt, Iowa. So he's been drag racing probably for a better portion of his early life. And it was just something that he used to talk about, and it was something I got interested into doing. And I had the Capri. I had a Mustang when I graduated from high school, and it was 6 months after that I purchased a Capri. And I was going to tech school for 2 years. I had a 1979 Mustang that had 87 to 93 ground effects all the way around it. So it looked like a newer Mustang, but it wasn't a newer Mustang. It was a giant pile of crap, actually. But I had a 400-inch Windsor in that car with a C4, and I bought that black car, and when I graduated from school, I actually took the motor out of that white car and I put it in the black car, and that's basically where that car had started. The Capri, like I said, I purchased it 6 months after I had graduated from school, and I've owned it ever since. There's been people who have tried to buy it. I've never been able to sell, or I've never wanted to sell it. I mean, that car is it's known as Puckett's car. So, I mean, really, it would have to be painted and go somewhere else across the world before they figured out whose it was, or if it was actually my car. But I probably drag raced at the local 8th Mile drag strip in Iowa. It was close to me, was Eddyville Raceway, and I did a lot of small tire 10-inch stuff with big inch Windsors, with glides, stuff like that. And I had probably went through, I'm thinking, a good 6 or 7 sets of pistons. I have a lot of ashtrays sitting at home, to be precise. And I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I mean, I had Steve Johnson backing me and helping me on it, but I didn't have the money to spend on an ignition system like everybody else was with like digital set or like all the high dollar MSD. I've always been a budget racer. You know, I've always wanted to go fast, but it always ended up costing me more money because I didn't spend that extra money in those extra areas. So I finally aced that motor, and I'm like, okay, I took it and I tore it into pieces. So the cylinder heads went one place, the camshaft went one place. Hell, the crankshaft made it to Australia. The block made it somewhere in Pennsylvania. I sold everything, the glide, all of it. There was nothing left except for a rolling chassis. And there was all this talk about Coyote swapping cars. And it was very, very early on that the 11 Mustang had just came out with the new 5-liter in it. And I decided to put a Coyote motor in that car and put a stick in it and drive it on the street again. So that was like that guy who tuned that. There was only 2 people in the United States would even touch trying to do that. And it ended up being Lund Racing out of, they were in Pennsylvania, but I don't think they're there anymore. But it was the 10th car he had done. So it was really early on in that Coyote swap deal where that stuff was getting put together. And I mean, I've always wanted to do drag week, and I had never done it before because I sure in the hell, a solid roller camshaft, I didn't have the knowledge of that. But you stuck on that Coyote motor in there, the car got 26 miles a gallon, and you're like, well, let's go drive this thing around the United States and see what it'll do. So that's basically what we did. And I've been doing it for 10 years now. And I've got to know all these people on this screen, actually, which is really cool. I've got to meet people from across the country, across the world, that I consider friends now. And I mean, I did a lot of local 8th Mile. Actually, we were talking earlier when I did Rocky Mountain Race Week with you for the first time, Bill. Yep. I came home, and on my way home was a 8th Mile drag strip where Beaterbaum was having his no prep race. And I showed up with that car after doing Rocky Mountain Race Week. I rolled in there and they had a stick shift class. I'm like, okay, I'm going to race this class. And that's the first time I won that deal there. I won the stick shift class there. And me and, God, what is Billy Badass Fast Corvette guy's name?
Hotskins? Oh, no.
No, he has the fastest drag and drive, the red Corvette. He's from Omaha.
Oh, Chad Figley.
Yes. Me and Chad would go back and forth on who would win that race. And we were like 2 of the fastest stick cars in the area. And that was now that's not saying shit, because stick cars are stupid fast. I mean, his car runs 7s, right?
Yeah.
6s, whatever it is.
First one.
Yeah. And I mean, I left that deal with winning like 4 of 6 races, and they kinged me. They crowned me the king on that deal, and I left while I was on top.
Nice. So you forgot one thing about the Coyote swap, and that is it has a really noisy power steering pump. What is that all about?
Yeah. Well, it is blown, and that, it started out at like
just a small detail. Just a small detail.
It started out at like 10 pounds of boost, and now it's like we put a boost gauge on it once, and we put a one-way check. We put a one-way vacuum check valve on this on the boost gauge, and we set it under the hood, and we went out and drove it, and we came back, and it was pegged over 30 psi. So that's all. Someone asked how much boost I dumped down, and I say all of it. I think 30 something is what goes down it.
And
Wow.
Yeah.
Pump gas, E85. What do you run for fuel?
Well, I run a lot of that. Before COVID, I was buying Fuse 116 octane unleaded fuel. So, but COVID hit, and then I had to put the car on C16. So that's the fuel I ran, and the car was tuned on, and then I put the C16 in it, and we haven't retuned the car on that. And there could be something there. There could not be something there. I'm not quite for sure, but the engine's been in, me and Frank we're going back and forth on this on drag week this year, about why that car has slowed down. Well, I haven't touched the engine in that car for 8 years. It's never been removed. It's never been removed.
You haven't touched it yet.
Yes.
I mean, that goes along with the whole, that transmission is still stock. I mean, it still has the same main shaft, and it has 99% of the same gears in it that it did from day one. I've replaced first gear in it once because
That's awesome. Yeah.
So that's just the whole budget thing with me. It's if it blew up, I couldn't be pissed at it because it's done its job. It's done more of it. It's done everything is expected of it, and then some over the years.
Tell everyone what clutch you're running.
Yeah.
So I messed with a couple different ones, and then I was pushed onto a McLeod RXT, and that's probably one of the main reasons I don't change the power level of that car, because that clutch works really, really good for what it does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's dipped into the eights a couple times, and it's even what's another talking about being budget, however you want to put it, being cheap. The clutch that's in the Capri right now is 6 years old. Wow. So it's had 6 drag and drive events put on it. And I mean, I used to drive it a lot more, but now lately it's been taking care of myself. And then 2 weeks before drag week, preparing a car, sticking it in a trailer, and hoping everything works for a week, and then taking it home and letting it sit for another 340 days before we touch it again.
Nice. Well, one thing that certainly helped it is you dropped some weight on your whole race program. So what did you change? Because this is, in my mind, this is one of the most impressive things about John Puckett.
Well, and you're right. I mean, I did change myself. I mean, at one time I weighed 350 pounds. I took it upon myself to go and walk 5 miles every night for 3 months, and I lost 50 pounds. I'm like, well, this is pretty cool. I was getting ready to go on a vacation, and I didn't want to be stuck in an airplane at 350 pounds for God knows however long. It was to Ireland, so it was like an 18-hour trip. And so I kept with it, and then I started doing Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping. I started that program at 313 pounds, and in 62 weeks, I cut myself all the way down to 190 pounds. So for that, I won $10,000. Yes. And now it's my addiction. Now it's something I do every day. I mean, at one time, drag racing was my addiction, and it still is, but it takes second fiddle. It takes the back seat. Now fitness is my life. I live it. I breathe it. I help people with it daily. I help whoever wants it, whoever will listen to me. It's not that people don't want it. It's the people that listen to me. And once they listen to me and they figure out that, God, this guy kind of knows what he's talking about, and I can help them succeed in those areas, it's super gratifying. I mean, it humbles me when I get to help someone do what can be extremely hard for themselves. And figuring out a nutrition can take me personally, it took God, 3 months before we knew what would work for me. And I still follow that today. And this is 4.5 years later after figuring it out.
I still remember the first race week that I saw you, and I'm like, I parked my car and there's this guy standing in front of my car, and I'm like, why is that guy like so angry? And who is he? And then I get out of the car and you start talking, and I'm like, John Puckett, and I had followed it, but the transformation was amazing. And
you know where that was? It was in Georgia.
Oh, is that where it was?
It was, because I brought the gold car because I had built that gold car during that transformation. And I'm like, well, I didn't want to take the Capri because I had spent so much time and effort on the Fairmont. Then I'm like, well, let's just take this car. We can have fun in it and it will be a good time.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. It was, truly inspirational for sure. Like amazing. And there's one thing losing all that weight, and then there's another thing of maintaining it, because your body wants to reset. I don't have to tell you this stuff, but that's the part that's most impressive, because lots of people have lost significant amount of weight and unfortunately they end up gaining it back. So kudos to you and all you're doing, my friend.
Thank you.
535-pound deadlift yesterday. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I mean,
damn, that's impressive.
Everybody around me is like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, well, you lose a bunch of weight, and you're like, well, at one time when I was 235, 240 pounds, I could pick up all this weight. Well, let's go see if you can do it being 20 pounds lighter. And that helped. It's all it is a goddamn ego lift. That's all that is. It's just to tell all your buddies, hey, see that? I can pick 535 pounds up. And then being able to walk out of the gym after doing it is even more rewarding. So,
again, like Rich said, man, it's super impressive. Like,
thank you.
Like, you're an inspiration to more people than including myself. So awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You got the belt on?
Oh, come on. You don't want to talk about that.
The belt? Yes, I
do. You know what happened?
Broke?
It broke, and you know where it broke? At sick week.
Really?
I lost that fucking belt.
Oh, talk about, in case people don't know, talk about the belt, because I know what you're talking about.
So I used to have a 52-inch waist, and I had a belt that I wore to hold my fucking pants up. So I continued wearing that belt throughout my transformation, and I would drill holes in it every time it needed to be smaller. Well, it came down to, once I was finished, and it sucks that we're talking about this, because it hurts that I don't have that belt, because it was my every day. I would get up and put that belt on, and it reminded me where I was at. I mean, sure, I was wearing smaller pants, but you put that belt on and you have to loop it around your body and then loop it halfway around your body again. It was just a realization of what you had accomplished in the amount of time I accomplished. So there is a tribute belt being made as we speak, but it still was, it was a trophy is what that was. But it was just an item. It can be replaced, and it was broken. I mean, it was done for. There was no fixing it. So, but yeah, I know in the parking lot at
Atco,
wherever the start finish track was, it's sitting in the parking lot there somewhere. But anyhow,
Bradenton.
Yeah, Bradenton. There we go.
Yeah.
Well, before we leave, because Travis gave me some instructions this time that we should follow, we better get some more information off of Puckett on the details. So we talked, is the shifter a stock shifter in your transmission, or is it an aftermarket short?
It actually is just the stock Tremex shifter that came with that transmission. So the base is stock, and it has an old school, oh God, what was it? That Hirsch chrome shifter that you could get for an 86 to 93 Mustang. So, what the saying that was always told to me was the older you get, the longer the shaft gets.
Frank probably told you that.
I
So,
think I'm the oldest.
so it's just an old chrome Hurst handle on top of the stock base from Tremec.
Nice.
And what gear ratio is in the rear end?
The rear end in both in the Capri has I actually changed it for the first time this year. I usually ran a 373 in it because it cruised really well on the interstate. I mean, you pop it in sixth gear and you could run 1900 RPM and it would pick up, 26 miles a gallon. But I decided to put a 390 in it to try to get some more of the top end out of the car. And I don't know if it helped much or not, but I can tell you right now, it lasted one drag week because it is garbage now. I actually went out and drove that car after I got home from drag week, and the gear is freaking killed in it.
So 8.8 rear end in that?
It is an 8.8. And
Yeah.
I mean, for the longest time, you ran that Ford Motorsport gear that was $139, and I could never break one. I tried multiple times. I used to change them every 3 or 4 years. I'd put a new one in it, and then you'd go out and drop the clutch at $7,000 on slicks, and then it sounded like shit the rest of its life.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And rear suspension, is it factory
It's,
style?
it is still considered, it's the modified 4-link, so whatever was factory from Ford back then, but it does have coilover, so it doesn't have factory location shocks. So inboard coilover, so that's what kind of sticks me in super street small block power outer class on drag week, is because it's not technically a stock suspension car.
Well,
Gotcha.
yeah, and I will say that Fox Body is such an ideal platform for what we do. I mean, it's
It is.
light, it works.
Yeah,
it's
but
awesome.
These three guys on this video right here have cars that weigh 4,000 fucking pounds. I mean, come on.
Not this guy. Not this
Oh,
guy.
yours doesn't?
No.
What's your car weigh, Bill?
It's 37 with me in it, 3680, 37 right in there.
Jesus. I mean, Frank's over what, 4,000?
Not anymore, but
Yeah,
39.
he's got some. We gotta pull some secrets out of this guy.
Yeah. And then we know Guido's over 4,000 pounds.
Yeah, it was
Just a touch.
in Oklahoma, it was 4,065. But when I went 877 at sick week, I had to weigh, and it was 4,025 at that point, after I drained some water out of it.
Yeah, I think the Capri is 3240 with me in it. So
Woo.
I dream of that,
Wow.
baby.
Jeez.
Okay.
and that car is still all steel.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us about your burnout strategy.
It's really not much of a strategy. It's put it in second gear, turn the line lock on, and wait till they start smoking enough and you think it's good.
Yeah. No, that sounds like my strategy.
I mean, seriously, yeah.
And your launch strategy is what?
My launch, well, and that's another thing is you'll see me or you'll hear me is what people say.
Yes, it's hear you.
They'll hear they'll hear the car, and so you'll see. I don't have a two-step. I don't have anything. I watch the tack until about 6,000 RPM, and then I look up at the tree, and then I give it a little bit more gas. So it's somewhere in between. It's usually somewhere in between 6,000 and 7,000 RPM is where I launch the car. So
it's funny because I show that video of you and I racing at the finals in 2017, and just about every time I'm like, just do nothing but listen to John's car. It's like it's going up.
It was great.
It was awesome.
It was Loans this year on drag week, and he's telling Freiberger, he's like, hey, why don't you stop and listen for 1 minute? And it was that video you sent me, Guido, that it's like all you hear is it go higher and higher and higher. And then, I mean, the car works like that, so I don't screw with it. Even though it sounds, I mean, it works really well, so that's why I've never changed it.
I think it's the starting line Spintron is what's going on. I think that's what it is. Spintron test.
Where was that? What track was that?
That was at Which one? This year?
No, with
Indy.
the final, with none of the final. We were at the track
Cordova.
last year. Cordova,
Yeah, Cordova.
Yeah,
Illinois. Yeah.
it was awesome. I was so lucky we hot lapped you and
Hey, that's how it fucking goes.
yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that's just how it goes. I was butthurt. Don't get me wrong. I was mad about that.
I could tell. I was trying to
I know.
avoid
And
you.
it took my co-pilot Brad to fucking calm me down. And he goes, "You need to go talk to that guy and tell him you're fucking sorry." I'm like, man, God damn it.
That's when your transmission, you couldn't shift into third or something.
I couldn't pull in a second. It ended up knocking one of the brass bushings off the shift fork, and it wouldn't pull in the second. It had it on one side, but it didn't have it on the other side. So then it was trying to pull it sideways, and it wouldn't allow it to pull in the synchro.
Yeah.
A $2 part.
Yeah.
Yes. That's
But
how
that's
it always goes.
well, yeah, but that's when it comes down to you left the transmission in the car for 5 years. What did you think it was going to do? It was going to keep working every day for the next 5 more years after that? No, that's not what happened.
Right.
Well, I think that's why we all stick race though. You don't know what's going to happen. That's
Exactly.
why I do it. Like you can always beat a faster guy stick racing. Doesn't happen as much with automatics, but there's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always
Yes.
a good excuse.
That's me giving.
Oh, look at that. Woohoo.
Yeah. I got that same photo
That's
on my
awesome.
phone. Yeah.
I have pictures of John before and after his transformation, but number one, I couldn't find him fast enough, and number two, I didn't want to take the liberty. I figured if you want to show that, you can.
Yeah, we might have to add that in. Well, why don't we move on to Mr. Frank Romano? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Super fast Frank.
Frank Romano.
Okay, so tell us about yourself and your background first.
Born in Heidelberg, Germany.
Oh boy, and he put the hat on. Like I was totally
because
digging the little curl hanging down.
I couldn't take the Bill Burr look I had going on. Super pale Irish guy, and all my Italian American friends are going to be like, "Hey, what happened to you? Did you have COVID when you did that?" So I really can't take the light in my eyes over my head. That's really, it was starting to bug me, and I really can't see the screen that great. But yeah, born in Heidelberg, Germany, grew up on Long Island, and idolized all the bad guys. I really did. I idolized all the bad guys in the movies, gangsters, bikers, street racers. And, but honestly, I got a 69 Nova when I was, I think, 20 years old. I had some other cars before that, but I got a 69 Nova with a 350. And I remember being in a bar with my friend, and he started asking me questions about the engine and the transmission and the cam and this. I really didn't know, it was really for girls. Like, I got the car because it was cool. It was black, sounded good. I could afford it. It was $2,800. Had a beautiful lacquer paint job on it. And I knew I could score chicks with it. I just figured, this was the missing piece in my life, was the car, right? And I got that car, and I was forever transformed because I just absorbed into the culture. I learned about what 12 bolt. I remember my friend talking about, lift and duration and, 12 bolt rear and 10 bolt rear and Muncie and 264 first and all that stuff. I didn't know what any of it meant. And by the end of that summer in '86, I knew what all of it meant. And
so did you get some chicks because of the car?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Actually, that car, I dated a girl. We moved from Long Island to Massachusetts in 1980, and I had like my first puppy love. And when I moved back to Long Island in '86, I guess, I started to date her again. The day I bought that car, I picked her up for a date. She was a knockout. And anyway, she helped me name the car, and I got this little black plate made up. I still have it somewhere. Simply Black 6/12/86. That's the day I bought the car.
Nice.
And it never hurt me having that car. Never hurt. So
You missed telling us what you do.
Yep.
I'm a tattoo artist, and I've been a tattoo artist since '83. I opened my own shop. Actually, this March will be 31 years ago.
Wow.
And
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, my accountant told me quite a few years ago now. He said, you kind of broke every barrier at this point. Like, most businesses fail within the first 3 years, and then, there's another barrier. I don't know what it is. I don't remember. It was much further. It was like 8 or 9 years. And he said, at this point, you're in the 1%ers club now. Small businesses have a really hard time surviving. So, and I attribute that to the people that I surround myself with. We have a killer staff, and I expect a lot out of them, and they deliver, and it's a good relationship, and I feel good about it. I've reeled it in as far as my the hours I spend at work now these days, because I can, and I have the staff. We have a big staff now, and I have 2 young children. I got married a second time, and I have a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old. So I spend a tremendous amount of time with them, back and forth to school and school functions and, extracurricular stuff and
Oh yeah.
horseback riding and drum lessons and teaching my daughter to shoot a bow and teaching my son to shoot a BB gun and going for hikes, just trying to be a good dad.
That's awesome.
I have an older daughter. She's 31, and my first wife didn't work, so the same old story. I worked. I was always at work. And I want to do that twice, but that's where I want to spend my time. Spend my time with my family.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
like you said, working for yourself gives you that opportunity, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, listen, it's not always great. Like, I think a lot of people look from the outside, right? They make judgments, and there's maybe envy or, and, nobody I don't talk about it. Most guys that have, their own itinerary don't talk about, the weight of what they carry. I don't tell the people that work at the shop anything about that, those concerns are mine and mine alone. Anyway, I just spend my time where I want to spend my time now. That's really comes down to that.
I totally get where you're coming from. Having your own business, I don't think people that don't have their own business know what it's like to have that payroll obligation, like every week or twice a month or whatever it is. Because it's a big deal. You have a bunch of people relying on you, on just you.
Yep.
And it's it's awesome. So
well,
go
ahead, Rich.
As a person who works who has golden handcuffs, I really admire. I have lots of friends. I have friends like both you guys that have your own businesses, that are that realize that we work to live, we don't live to work. And that, I just complimented Bill the other day on this, that I have a ton of respect for the fact that he, dropped it all, started his own business, went through all the trials and tribulation. And now he's in a place in his life where he can enjoy it. And he is enjoying it, because there's also other friends of mine that work a ton and don't do what I do. And are pretty wrapped up in it. And, I know it's a combination of, you have responsibilities, you have people that you need to take care of. But in the end, like we were talking before we hit record, you only have so many summers and you only have so many years in this life. So you better get out there and enjoy them. And we talk a lot about that while we're on Drag Week and stuff like that, that we're very privileged to be able to do this kind of stuff. But it's a choice that we make, and I sure am glad I do.
Yeah. And I want to add on what Rich said, because we did talk about this kind of before we started, but really, I met you, Frank, at Midwest Drags a couple of years ago, and that was awesome, by the way.
Yeah, it was.
But you said something to me that resonated to this day, and I think about it a lot, and I told you about this earlier, but literally you told me that, you were here and your wife was upset because you didn't go to a wedding or something, and you just told her, like, look, I have 20 summers left, and this is what I want to do with it. And I think about that. I'm like, God, how many summers do I have left? And I sit down and start penciling it out based on hopefully how long I live and how long you can continue to do this, because like you said, we're not mountain climbers, but there's still a huge physical component to what we do. These race weeks and drag weeks, it's not fucking easy. Don't get me wrong.
Well, if you talk to somebody that doesn't do it, it's not that hard.
Oh, yeah. No, it's easy. Yeah.
There's guys at the train station and around town that tell me like, hey, how fast is a guy, you know, with the turbo and this and that? And I tell them like, oh man, I should come down there and probably win that thing. I'm like, yeah, you should come down. Could at least register, you know, could at least get up before 12 o'clock and put your money up where your mouth is.
That's right. That's right.
Do that.
So
I wanted to back up because I think that I've something good to add, especially for you, Bill. There was, as you know, that owning your own business is an up and down game. It's not everybody's built for it, and I went all in on myself, and I will never regret that. But there came a point when a lot of things weren't going well and things were difficult. I'm not saying I couldn't put food on the table, but the cost, emotional cost, the weight of having this thing was heavy. And I said, why do I do this? Why am I doing this? And at the end of the day, the first thing you would think that would cross your mind is financial gain. Of course, I want to make money. I want to be paid for work, of course. But I think the ultimate thing the two things were freedom. In other words, the freedom to take my daughter to horseback riding, right? The freedom to just not have to ask someone if it's okay if I do that. And then the opportunity to win the game, like to be the pitcher, to have the ball in my hand. And if we win, I'm the one that threw that ball. And if we don't win, I'm the one that threw that ball. I'm able to handle the weight of being in charge, being the captain and being able to make decisions, to follow my vision, win or lose. And I think maybe if people hear that, and I've been at it for a while, you have to realize that's got to be a huge motivator, freedom and the ability to choose your own destiny.
Yeah, so well put, Frank. Yeah, I would agree with everything you said. And one of the things, like, it seems crazy. Like, you get to a point, like, it's not easy. I mean, starting your own business, it's a risk for sure. And you've got to be all in. In the beginning, I had, family and friends, I'd have to, in the beginning, I'd have to borrow money for like 4 days to make payroll, and then I could pay them back. And they're like, maybe you should get another job and do this on the side. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. If you're going to do it, you got to be all in. And I've always said fear is the greatest motivator ever. Like, oh yeah. Like you want to motivate yourself, scare the shit out of yourself, because that'll do it. And now I've started another company, the Bank Shift Billy, the clutch controller thing, and that doesn't put food on the table, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty passionate about it. It's not my main gig. I can't wait for it to be that, because we're launching some additional products, which, we'll talk about, not maybe this time, but there's some other stuff coming out, like prototype type stuff that I'm hopefully going to be testing this year. But whatever, you put it really well. So let's talk about that beautiful 55 sitting behind you there.
Fatso.
That's it. So you're making model. Oh God, look at that. Look at that.
1955 Chevy 210. So I bought that car in 1993, right before I went hunting in Alaska with my father. He took me on a hunting trip there, and I'll tell you what, if there's any place I ever wanted to live that's not here, it's Alaska. I love everything about Alaska. I really do. I just heard a statistic. No, I wasn't there during that, but I heard that's crazy bad. It's like drive you insane.
Yeah.
But I just heard it's one of the most dangerous places to live. Some guy was doing like a little bit on the most dangerous cities, and he's naming Chicago and Atlanta and this, that, and the like. Not too far down the line was Alaska. I was thinking, it doesn't seem that way to me, but there's a lot of ways to die in Alaska. I actually was hunting and I fell in quicksand on a horse. The horse fell in quicksand up to his neck.
You made it.
shit
Did the
out of
horse
me.
make it? I mean,
Yes, the
clearly you
horse-
made it.
Yes. Yeah, thanks to the guide and my father were way ahead of me. I was lagging. My horse, he just was slow. And all of a sudden the horse just disappeared from under me. It was like I was Yosemite Sam with my short little legs, and the horse just vanished. And I looked down, and then I was on top of him, and I realized, like, I didn't know it was quicksand. It happened so fast. I just jumped over the handlebars. I jumped over that horse's head, and I was yelling, and the guide said, pull the reins. Do not let him. He's like, just keep pulling the reins. I was like leaned back at an angle like this, pulling. And he told me later, he's like, if you didn't pull on that horse like that, he'll just give up. They'll just give up and sink.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow.
I don't think I enjoyed myself a lot anywhere near water after that. We were walking on a riverbed, and it had dried up, and it was just these pockets of quicksand. Crazy and scary.
That's crazy.
So real quick.
Anyway, this
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So John, the phone is better sideways. Like you had it
Okay.
resting on something and it was ideal.
Okay.
Yes.
There we go.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, much better.
Okay. So back to horses and quicksand.
Yeah, I think we're over that, but look at that fatso. I don't know how we got to quicksand and horses.
I don't know. It's all good. So to date, best ET a mile an hour.
9:30 flat. Right after I raced Rich Guido. Couldn't wait one more pass. 146.70 something, I think it was, something like that. My best mile an hour is like 146 and change. Best ET is 9:30 flat. That was Bradenton, Florida.
Nice.
And that was at 39.50. Actually, it's funny because down in Bradenton, I went across the scales a few times, and it was between 39.25 and 39.60 or something like that. But I forgot that we had changed the fuel tank from steel to aluminum and something else. And that's the lightest it's ever been. Right now, I took the heater out of it.
What?
Yeah, I took the heater out of it.
Oh man.
I bought a smaller heater, so I'm going to put that in there. But I took the big box out of there.
Okay.
Right now, today, it doesn't have much fuel in it, so it'll be heavier than this. But it's 39.02. I weighed it a few weeks ago.
I thought you were going to say like 36 or something.
Tonight it's the lightest it's ever been because it has no transmission in it.
Oh.
And no gear vendor. All that stuff's out for service.
Okay, and what's the so engine, drivetrain?
Yeah, 582 aluminum Brodix block, Brodix Dragon Slayer heads, tunnel ram, G-Force GF5R, Ram single counterweight style sintered iron clutch, a gear vendor behind that, which is probably the most important piece of the puzzle for drag and drive.
Yep.
You guys are all T56. I'm just different route.
Yep.
I admire that transmission. I cannot believe it holds up, but it does hold up. And a Ford 9-inch 40 spline gun drilled super light Mark Williams stuff back there. Aerospace brakes all the way around. All steel, not one piece of light anything on it. All regular glass, chrome bumpers, steel brackets. This, obviously nothing. And it's the cage is DOM, drawn over mandrel steel. It's not chromoly. I wish it was. I'd probably save a bunch of weight right there. But I'm just not willing to sacrifice the appearance of the car. It's a real street car. People question that, right? So I don't know if you guys get this, but when people on the periphery start asking you questions like, that's not a real street car, I say, well, I've gone as much as 1,445 miles in 5 days and raced at 5 different tracks. Would you consider that a street car? Because Wasso, Oklahoma, what is that? What was that place in Texas in 2000?
Albuquerque?
No.
Ennis, Texas.
No, in the Panhandle.
Oh.
Something with an A. Anyway, the worst track I've ever raced on in my entire life. Real bad. Not Alamo, Texas. I don't know. Well, maybe it'll pop up. I have senior moments quite often now. But that was a long stretch. We had a 440-mile drive one day.
And I think there's a kind of a famous picture of you driving somewhere with someone
Amarillo.
on the cover of Hot Rod magazine.
Amarillo. Yep.
Oh,
shithole track. Funny story. Joe and I, my co-pilot, I've had the same co-pilot for, so 2010, my friend Ian came with me. And then after that, it's been my friend Joe that you guys all know. He's always with me. He's the best guy. We were at that track and we lost the lifter and everybody left. We were the last guys there at that track. And this little guy pulls up in like an S10 or something. And he goes, "Hey, where's the drag race?" And I said, "It's gone. It's over." And he gets out of the car and he goes, "My name's Virgil Macbeth." He starts telling these crazy stories about his son who's locked up in prison. And it was entertaining. Nice guy. He actually gave me his phone number and he said, "You'll never call." So far, he's been right. I haven't called him. But so Joe and I, we have the top of the engine in the trunk and, we're pulling lifters out, putting lifters in. And this guy yells, "Dirt devil." And we're like, "Is this guy losing his fucking marbles? What's happening to this man? Is he getting heat stroke?" And I turn around and there's this wall of dirt about 150 feet high and about 50 or 80 feet wide coming straight at us. And in this wall, it looked like a tornado, was just garbage and bushes and
your engine's wide open.
My engine is completely valve covers off, intake manifold off, distributor out.
Yep.
And here comes this thing. It's a few hundred feet away. And in a matter of seconds, this thing is on top of us. So we managed to throw the fender skirts over the engine. And Joe and I just both jumped in and held that stuff down and pulled the hood down over us. And it passed us. It took about like 30 seconds or 40 seconds to get past us. When that thing finally was far enough away, we felt the dirt. We just had to lift everything very carefully. The dirt was literally packed into our ears, eyes, and noses. Crazy stuff. Again, like no way to transfer that information to somebody that hasn't experienced it other than to say the story. But that was just one day at Amarillo, Texas. Wow. After going down the worst track in the world, losing a lifter. Glenn left the track and ended up, he broke down that day. So Joe and I were on our own from that point on, and nothing to fear, right? Drag weekers are always very kind and stop and help you and stuff. But just another day in the life of drag and drive event.
So it's an NA motor, correct?
Yeah.
What about Power Outer? I heard a rumor that you might be
coming.
Doing some of that.
It's coming. Listen, I don't mind losing, but I don't want to make a habit out of it. Yeah, no. I'm this coming this week, no secret, Mark Cicino and I have become friends, very good, close, very, very, very helpful. John and I have gotten super close over the last few years. And, I talked to Mark about adding nitrous to my car, I don't know, over a year ago. And I think he was one of the most scientific guys. He's very patient. He's very careful.
This is Mr. Champagne Express.
Yep.
Yes.
Mark Cicino.
Yes.
He called me a few weeks ago. He goes, "I can't even get in a magazine without your stupid face being in it." So he's in Sick Week magazine, and I'm in the biggest picture with him.
Yeah, he has an awesome spread in there.
Yeah, it's killer.
But you're right. He was so calculating and scientific with the nitrous. Like he got it to work really well. But then I think he discovered
for 11 years.
Yeah,
the guy never burnt a spark plug in 11 years. Now, everybody's got this
the bottomless bottle of nitrous called Boost.
Yeah, listen, for me, I have no qualms with any power editor. I'm really about the driver. Like, to me, that's, as Rich said before, and I think that's the best thing I've heard in a podcast. It's like anybody can win a stick shift race. I've never been I don't think I've ever been the faster car in anything I've ever won in a stick shift race. It usually happens on the starting line and preparation, right? If your car does the right thing and you cut a great light, you can win the race. You know, there's a lot that could happen in, you know, the first 60 feet.
Well, yeah, let's I actually want to dig into that a little, because I know you are amazing at cutting a light. I'm usually still having a sandwich and I'd be like, where the hell's Frank? You know, then I still might catch you and pass you. But
you know what? The only thing I got to hang on to on the race that we had in Bradenton was that he only beat me by 8 thousandths. And you know what's crazy? I watched you race, Bill. I watched you race that guy. That was an amazing race. I have it. I actually sent it to Rich from the summit. You guys both ran like an
that Mustang.
8 thousandths of a second margin of victory.
Yep.
I immediately sent it to Rich. I said, I just watched this race.
That was awesome. Yeah.
8 thousandths. 860 flat, I think, or something. Or 870 flat.
No, I haven't been that fast yet. But
okay.
But no, it was so close. And honestly, I had an issue with the launch. And I caught him, but just barely. Like, it was so close.
Yeah. Well, that was like when you and I raced, Frank. It was the same thing. Like, you treated me so bad. And
I'm a one-trick pony.
But let's
my question is if he treed you, did he double bulb you?
I don't think he did on that one.
No. Yeah, that was we should talk about that too. That, although I was excited to win, is this it? I have a picture. No, that's not it.
On that Midwest Drags race you're talking about, we had identical mile an hour. Identical, down to like the 1,000th. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I
know that it was funny because I think I was giving Frank a hard time about double bulbing, and he's like, you know, when you race Puckett that time, you double bulbed him, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's funny. I don't remember that.
Yeah, of course not.
No.
Well, here it is. This is the race. 6 thousandths. 6 10 thousandths. That's it right there. Those are your dirty fingers, Bill.
Nice. Yeah, look at the mile an hour, 165.07, both of us.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I forget
now,
who
look
that
at
was.
the bottom. Look at the margin of victory. Is it on there? Can you see that?
Yeah.
0 0 0006. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10 thousandths.
Yeah, that's nuts.
10 thousandths.
And I forget who that was. He's got that white Cobra Jet painted up Mustang.
Yeah. Yes.
Super bad.
I never saw the car before that. 910 to 902. Okay, so it wasn't. Yeah, these 60 foots are terrible. So yeah, when I have a good 60 foot, I'm 133. You know.
So yeah, let's dig into that a bit. We didn't.
I keep derailing the conversation, which
I know you do, because I want to dig into that. You're more than welcome to say I'm not going to tell you, but I know doing burnouts beside you and occasionally watching you, you scream that thing to the moon. So tell us, how do you do a burnout in yours? Second gear?
The third gear.
Oh, it is third.
Third gear. So I hear a lot about this, about how high the RPMs are and all that stuff. So absolutely at the hit of the tire, it's high, and it's high right away. And it's on the chip, 8,000, 8,200, whatever the chip is set at. And then I try to bring it down. And the reason is, with the centrifugal clutch, with that little bit of bass that I have in there. I've been in a situation before where I'll be moderate with the throttle and I let the clutch out, and it's the clutch that's spinning and not the tires. Combination of a super hot track. So I roll through the water, and one of my routines is I whack the throttle and let the clutch out in the water and move forward. I don't want to be sitting in the water and throw the water into the wheel well. So I just give it a little shot and then I move forward. From there, the problem, as I see it, becomes timing, right? If the starter keeps us there for several minutes, you can have a lot of evaporation. And then I start off with just a small amount of throttle and let the clutch out. And what happens is there's no moisture there for the tire to spin up on. So I let the clutch out and the car's not doing anything. Now, if you accelerate hard and bring the RPMs up, you'll feel the car hop up on the tire. And of course, it's right at the max. And the reason is it's like an on-off switch, that throttle. And it was even more pronounced with the old intake manifold, which had the GM style front entry throttle body, where it was like on and off. It was no middle ground for it.
So was that the big oval, oval blade, throttle
it's like
blade?
a 1600 CFM oval front entry. And then when we moved to the bigger motor, I said, should I buy it? My engine builder is Scott Merkel. He's a multiple world champion in the NMCA. His father was a world champion. His brother was a world champion. In fact, Scott's son, who's like a teenager now, he's maybe like 16 years old. He was a national soapbox derby champion, with those little wooden cars.
Yeah.
It's in their blood. And he said, it's probably time to make a move on that. And we bought a tunnel ram with two 2000 CFM AccuFab throttle bodies. And the throttle mechanism on that is much better. I can, going down the road, it's, very little input, and doing a burnout, same thing. It's more controllable. But starting at, RPM limit, which is now it's down to 7,800. It's hard to bring it down to 7,800. Listen, I have a good engine builder. I'm not worried about, he said you should be able to hold that thing like that all day and not worry about it.
Nice.
The input with my foot, I try to come down, but I'm not very good at it. It's one thing I'm not very good at. And I also love the way it sounds. I really do.
We all do. We all do.
The way it sounds. When I watch a video of my car, I'm like, oh, I wish someone else could drive the car that I felt confident could drive the car. I get volunteers all over. I'd love to see it, be there.
I'm in the same boat. I'd love to hear my own car go down the track, because the video, it doesn't know justice. You just don't know.
But I this year I changed. We went to a Holly ECU this year.
Actually, you know what, Rich? If you and I switched cars, I would be able to see my car go down the track.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, I don't want a bent input shaft though.
Well, that's true.
And a broken shifter.
True.
You ripped the shifter out of it too.
Oh yeah, yeah. He can do that.
You guys have been rough on stuff this year.
So yes. Do you have a clutch switch in your car? Like what releases? Oh yeah, you don't have a rev limiter, I don't think. But
yeah, I do. I have. So this year when we went to the Holly, I'm kicking my headers. They're on one of them's on the floor. This year we went. I put a burnout switch now. So if you notice, when I do the burnout now, it's at 6,600 while I'm on the button. So I hold it there. I get most of what I need out of the burnout.
Tied to the line lock, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just the line lock. So I have a multiple position switch. One is just line lock, and the second position is line lock 2-step. So that's when I'm all the way up. It's, I've taken a little bit of flack on the double bulbing. It's my own fault. I created that. The reason it was created is because it's a little bit of a complicated way to get where I'm going, the way I have it set up. So this year I have it so that it's at line lock is 6,600. So when I'm holding that, I'm just at 6,600. It sounds like shit though. I really don't like it. But then when I let go of it and I drive out of that, it's whatever. And it's usually back to, 7,800. And I get a feel for what the car is doing too. I could feel how the suspension is picking the nose of the car up a little bit. When I pulled to stage bulb, then I have to or anytime after I come out of the burnout, I have to put the switch in the other position, which is line lock 2-step. Then I have to get the car into the second beam, push the clutch down, and then hit the button, which lock, and grab the brake as well, and then hit that button. Now it's line locked, and it's held at the starting line with the brake on, with the line lock, and the 2-step is set from the clutch. So now I can floor the car, and it's going to go to whatever I had the starting line RPM limiter set to. But it's a lot to have to do in a hurry. And what happens is it's usually not the first pass of the day, but it's usually any pass after that. When the clutch has a little bit of heat in it, I don't know if you guys have sintered iron or not, but they get very grabby.
Yep.
No, I don't.
He's got organic material still. I had to basically shame him to take the valve covers off his car and put valve springs on it. John, would you have changed the valve springs if I didn't talk about the valve springs?
No, I would not have. And
then when I saw what he had to do to change the valve springs, I knew why.
I saw that too. It took like a week.
But
that car is a total and complete beast now. I mean, I tested the valve springs and all 32 of them were fucking junk. And now it is, I mean, it literally needs to go to a drag strip to actually know if that helped, but it
helped.
Makes so much more power now. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's
worst advice I ever gave anybody.
Exactly.
Did you put a stock spring or aftermarket spring in it, John?
Whatever was cheaper.
I put packs in it. So I put the pack replacement Coyote valve spring in that car. So I spent the money and bought the good springs.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't blame you for not changing them. I showed that picture to someone last night. I said, you want to see what he had to go through?
Yeah.
Oh,
I would have just bought a new crate engine. I said, what can I get for this one? That's it. They're only like $8,000, right? Those engines.
I think they're a lot more expensive now, but I think that one that I bought for that car was, I think it was $6,800 when I bought it. So
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
He's gone in the 8s with a $6,800 engine.
That's about the same as what you spent, isn't it, Frank?
Yeah, on the heads.
Wait, and it's a Ford. A Ford and a Ford, as it should be.
A Ford and a Ford. You're right.
Pontiac and a Pontiac, Chevy and a Chevy.
That's right.
Nobody here sucks.
And you know what else? None of the people on this podcast have a purse. Not one of them.
A purse? No.
Perfect.
Yeah, you got an automatic. You got to have a little spot in the back for the
Listen,
purse.
Yesterday I went to how many of you guys remember Doug Garrison's 65 GTO?
64, yeah.
64, is it?
It's 4, yeah.
Is that the red one?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, I said that when I met him in 13 and his painter, Jeff Ludwig, I said that was, and I still believe this, the most beautiful car that's ever done drag week. That car doesn't have a bad side. The inside of the trunk, the bottom of that car, the engine bay, it is a 10. And I just saw it. He had an accident with it, an on-track accident. It's been a few years now.
I think he's close to bringing it back out again.
Yeah, he's getting there. But his painter, Jeff Ludwig, has a holiday party every year. And I was fortunate to get an invite again. And I was there yesterday, and where is it? He had a sign up on the wall. I want to share it if I can find it.
I can imagine. While Frank's interesting fact, while Frank's looking for that, I think all of us have either been featured by 1320 Video or have a video from Hot Rod Drag Week. I know the three of us did from Hot Rod Drag Week, but just about each one of us has been featured by 1320 as well.
Yes.
And we don't have purses, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, here
That's
it is.
right.
If you need a trans cooler,
You need a cooler trans. I like it. Yep, that's good. That's good. So Frank, you talked about clutch. What rear gear?
456.
Wow. Okay. And quick question. So you said you have gun drilled axles. Any problem with those on the street?
Knock on wood. I've been
Okay.
doing drag week since 2010. No,
What's the weight difference between a gun drilled and a non-gun drilled?
you'd have to call Mark Williams.
Well, good thing they're right down the road from me.
Yeah. I lived in Colorado. That's where I learned how to tattoo, in Denver and Englewood and Aurora. Nowhere
Yeah.
near you. Not far from you.
No, there's actually right next to my office, Black Sage Studios. Are you familiar with them?
There's probably 500 tattoo shops in Colorado now.
Ah, okay.
When I was there,
Yeah.
the outfit I worked for owned the majority of them.
Nice.
It was a different time. It was almost like karting in New York City back in the 70s. You know, it was
Yeah.
just a closed thing.
So
Times have
talk
changed.
about the suspension, because you're a leaf spring setup, and I am very curious on your setup, front and rear, because unlike Rich, I have leaf springs also, and I feel like I'm struggling a little bit, especially no prep. It's worthless for that. But talk about that, your travel, all that type of stuff, please.
So in the front of the car, I have coil spring technologies, just stock diameter and length coil springs. I tried last year or year before coil overs, which are allowed in my class, Super Street, which has been eliminated. But the car didn't transfer the weight. It just didn't have enough stored energy, or possibly I had the wrong weight. I had, I think, a 450-pound spring in there, which Rick Steinke has in his car, which weighs almost the same exact. I mean, we're within a few pounds of each other. In the back, I have a split monoleaf from Calvert, which I changed thinking that something was up back there, because I've struggled in the last 2 years. I mean, I put these Menser shocks in the car, which were a lot more money, and they were really good about customer service, about revalving the fronts and stuff. Quality company. I want to say that, and I'm not just saying this because he supports us, but gear vendors from way back in 2007 or whenever I bought my original gear vendor, I didn't finish the car for a couple of years, and when I did finish it, I broke the thing almost immediately. And they were like, Rick was like, no problem, send it back, I'll send you a new one. Like, there was no question, and he's been that way the whole time. So, but Menser definitely was accommodating. He revalved them.
I run Mensers on mine.
Yeah, as I've switched the power, and that's kind of the reason the transmission is out of the car right now. I think that I have too much first gear. My starting line ratio is 14 and change.
Yeah, it's
well, you have a pretty deep ring and pinion too.
Yeah, so that combination yields a situation where I'm forced to shift that car faster than I can, basically. Yeah. So I'm all over the limiter in first. But as far as travel, the front end doesn't have a lot of travel because I lowered the front end of the car. The attitude of the car is important to me. The way the car looks is important to me. Listen, it's chipped up. She's got some bruises and dents, you know. She looks, you know, war weary. There's a Japanese term for it. It's called wabi-sabi. It's just the natural wear and tear.
Oh, I got lots of wabi-sabi on mine too.
Yeah, Rich,
same here. Yeah,
pretty much everybody here has got. I think, Bill, your car is beautiful, but I mean, there's no way to drive a car and do what we do.
Yeah,
I think I'm up to 13 events plus everything else I do with the car. And And I grabbed friends. I drove 75 miles one way to get a hamburger with the car. Like I'm not afraid to drive a car. It's not a trailer queen, but
I will say one of the things at Midwest Drags is you had that aluminum exhaust, and you had me pretty intrigued. And I did that last winter, is I put aluminum exhaust in mine.
I saw save some weight, right? But they move around quite a bit. They crack, and they're not maintenance free.
I tell you what, I've put probably 7,500 miles on it, and I've had no cracks.
Do you have an X pipe?
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
That's where the problems occur.
Well, I have turbo mufflers on it. I have turbo
Frank's X pipe broke getting it. You broke it on drag week.
Yep.
The X pipe, yeah.
Again,
yeah.
We made we put a doubler on it now.
Oh.
My friend Bobby, who's basically, I call him Dad. He's a super high level fabricator. He mainly does like railings and complicated stuff now because he's very smart, but he comes from the aircraft industry. His work ethic and his capabilities are really, really high. But he's also a very practical and systematic guy like Mark. I think we kind of glossed over the Mark situation and nitrous and how and why I'm headed that way. But Bobby's he's like my dad. He tells me, when was the last time you had, the wheel bearings out? And when was the last time you checked this? And when was the last time you checked that? You should flush that system out, and you should put this. And he's just constantly got me thinking about things that I don't think about, maintenance, just basic little maintenance stuff.
Yeah.
Valve springs on a Coyote.
Yeah. So
basic, easy things to change.
I mean, I've torn, I don't know about you guys, but I've torn this car apart many times. I mean, engine out, transmission out. I could take this car apart like a NASCAR unit at this point. It's just, I have systems. I know what everything is on the car. I would love to take this driveline and drop it in a old Corvette or something, but I know this car, and there's a lot of pluses to it as well. But he can organize. We'll be working on the car sometimes, and he'll be like, all right, let's put all the tools away and reset, start over. It's like, it's become very valuable having somebody as smart as him and as practical as him in my life, just making me think, I'm like the teenager with a heart on, I just want to get in the car and go fast. I don't maintenance, fuck maintenance. I want to go out.
Yeah. I keep that in mind too. And Rich and I talk about this a lot, but God, it's so much easier over the winter just to check through all that stuff and fix it than it is to do it on the side of the road. Cause then you're like, oh my God, you know what? I should have checked this at home, and I was lazy, and now here I got to do it on the side of the freaking road. It sucks.
Yeah. I believe me, I did it in I think we were coming. It might have been when we left Amarillo. There was no side of the road. The road was like this, and then it just dropped off the sides. So we had the car on the white line. Tractor trailers in Texas, they don't have a slow down mode. They just go 95 miles an hour. Ooh. And I was doing lifters on the driver's side, and these tractor trailers were going by me really fast. That was terrifying. Ooh. Terrifying.
Yeah.
You don't even hear them coming, until they're passing you. But I do a lot of work. Chris McNeely just commented on that. He goes, you don't spend a lot of time fixing stupid stuff like me on drag week. And I say, yeah, because I do that stuff ahead of time. I've learned the hard way. I mean, 2010, 11, and 12, nobody put more hours in than me. Nobody.
Yeah.
We got back to the hotel one time at like 3:50 in the morning in 2010. And my friend always jokes around about this. He goes, you remember what you said when you got out of the car? I said, no, I was delirious. We were breathing fumes for 13 hours. He goes, you just said, you think anybody's behind us? And we just both burst into laughter. Got, like quality 90 minutes of sleep, and we were back at it.
Nice. Yeah.
But Mark, I wanted to get back to this because I feel like we didn't finish it about the Powerator thing and, not wanting. It's not about winning necessarily. that's a nice feeling. It's a goal, of course, like I want to do well, but throughout the years, I've, kind of bring a knife to a gunfight, but I always find somebody at, whatever the time I was going, whether it was, 1090 or 1050 or 1020, there's always somebody that I can chase. My goal is, if I can catch him, if I can get in front of him, that's, it's a achievable goal, so I can accomplish it. For me to go there, and Kurt Johnson is going to be a constant threat, right? If he's there, he's going to finish, and he's usually going to finish at the top. So, you're kind of battling for second or third, and that's usually where I come in. I'm 3, 4, or 5. That's where my car usually sits. Except for when you and I, Bill, went to Midwest, I was second for the first time, but there was no trophy for second. But I said, this guy's got a turbo. My goal is to, stay 2 turbos.
2 turbos.
my goal is to stay as close to him as I can. And this year too, at Drag Week, I came in third. Unfortunately, the guy that was in first got DQ'd, and so I got moved into third. But the other 2 cars had power adders, and I don't. So I felt like, that's a good accomplishment. That I can't expect, to be knocking guys out with turbos. You know what I mean? It's just unrealistic. It's just,
well, bottom nines with an NA car at 3,900 pounds is freaking impressive as hell. Especially, stick shift. It's awesome.
There's more in it. I haven't realized it, and that's what I'm kind of doing this year. I'm trying to be more. I've been pretty lax over the years about about improving certain systems like the clutch, like being more scientific about the clutch. Having guys like Bobby, my fabricator friend, and Mark and Glenn, of course, in my corner, drives me to want to do better. And that's my goal this year, is to be more scientific especially about the clutch. Maybe take some first gear out of it so that I can utilize first gear more. And the reason I'm going to nitrous probably at the end of next season, because it's a rebuild year anyway, is because I really don't need that. I don't think I need that much, bless you, to get where I'm going. I don't want to go faster than 850 in this car. I don't think for me, not whatever anybody else wants to do is fine with me. If you're comfortable going 770s in a car that weighs 4,000 pounds, you got bigger balls than I do. I don't want to do that on a 10.5-inch tire.
No.
I think I'm gonna be excited when I start spraying this thing. And between Mark and my engine builder Scott Merkel, we just felt like I can get where I want to go pretty easily with nitrous.
Yeah.
And the packaging issues that were ahead of me with turbos and ProCharger or Supercharger, they were just, too much to have to overcome. And also to make the car pretty nose heavy too. Right now I'm about 50.2% over the front tires.
Oh, that's impressive.
And that's just the way the car sits.
Well, and I'll tell you, when I went from my NA setup, which was a Cleveland motor, it was 3550 with me in it, and it picked up 300 pounds when I went to the turbo setup with the Windsor. You got the turbos, you got the intercooler, the dart block is heavy. It's like, I think 78 pounds heavier than a Windsor block. I don't know what it is over at Cleveland. That's a pretty heavy block and heads, but yeah, and I'm right with you, and I think Rich is the same. Like, I'm not going to put anything other than the 850 cage in my car, because I can take the door bars out. You can drive it. It's not like there's a cage in it. Like, if I want to go 7s, I'll build a different car, and it won't be 3,700 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Tick Performance. I mean, I think that car weighs like under 2,300 pounds or something like that.
Yeah. What did he tell us?
Grubworm.
Yeah. Yeah. Jonathan.
That thing had a legit LT1 in it.
Yeah.
Up until this past year, I think, right? And the only reason they didn't have that in was, I think, rebuilding that time-wise was going to take too long, and they had the other project already started or something.
Yeah. And I feel like it was 26-ish hundred.
Oh, was it that?
I'm not sure, but
still impressive.
My God. Yeah. 2,000 plus horsepower. Like, it's legit. It's pretty sweet.
Imagine taking 500 pounds out of your car?
I dream about
That would be nice.
That would
30,
be nice.
if this car weighed 3,500 pounds, I don't even.
Yeah.
Be
So
John.
you're not gonna spray it at sick week?
No, because I need, in fact, like I was with Mark yesterday on the way home, I stopped with him and I had switched to this new ECU. We got my car running, I think Wednesday, just got it running. And then Thursday, tuned it. My tuner, Darren Barone, also tunes Glenn, helped Glenn with his car. Great guy, great tuner. I know Blasco tuned your car, smart guy. He's helped me before. He's super smart. Guys at that level are all good, right? It's who you can, I think, have a good relationship with, and proximity to is helpful, right? My engine builder is around my age. He's nearby and geographically, that's helpful. I just feel like he's going to be in the game as long as I'm going to be in the game, and he's nearby, and we have a good rapport. And same thing with Darren, and so Darren got the car running on Wednesday. Thursday, we drove it around. He said, "Don't kill me, but you need to lean into this thing so I can get some kind of tune going." And then Friday, I drove, to drag week. So that week, I learned how to do downloads. I learned how to do changes to the timing, with coaching, of course. But last night, Mark took me to the Mark Cicino clinic of scientific approach to data logging and storing information, and he really helped me. Today I worked on it this morning before breakfast, and tonight we have this, but tomorrow morning I'm gonna get back at it. And Mark didn't want to start showing me how to tune for nitrous in the fall because he felt like the air was fall air was a little more unpredictable, and the tune was going to be a little bit harder to figure out, and he didn't want to rush it. And I said, "Hey, you're quarterback in that. You're going to teach me when you want to teach me."
He's coming to sick week too, isn't he? I think
he's planned to, but I don't know if you're having trouble where you are, but I think he's having issues with certain parts. He's got his car running and stuff, but he's pretty precise,
mm-hmm.
and he wants things a certain way. Like I said, he sprayed the guy was going 850s in that car on nitrous, and hadn't had any issues for 11 years, never even nipped a plug.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So he's not a guy that throws things against the wall and see what sticks. He's pretty systematic. And another guy that doesn't have failures because he prepares and he does the work. Hardworking guy, 7 days a week. He's just, I need more of that. I'm a little bit more of a risk taker. I wouldn't say I'm, certainly not nuts, but it's spraying in the fall. I'm ready. So let's do this.
What about you, John? Are you coming to sick week?
I'm probably going to come down and hang out for a couple days, but I won't be bringing a car. I don't have the vacation time starting a new job. I have enough to hopefully do drag week in 2023. So that's probably my plan.
Nice.
And I mean, it sucks too, because Jesus, there's a goddamn drag and drive event almost every month now.
Yeah.
I mean,
the thing to do is figure out how to make that your full-time job.
Exactly, right? I
Yeah.
mean, what are you doing? I'm going to go drag racing for a week, and then a month later, I'm going to go do it again. And then a month later, I'm going to go do it again. And a month later, I'm going to go do it again.
Yeah.
I mean, before, when we started this, it was drag week and that was it. And I remember that in 13, when I signed up, I think I signed up a week after registration opened.
Yeah.
Because
there was 7.5 minutes after registration opened.
Yeah. There was no need to be in a big hurry. And then as the years went, that hurry got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then by doing that, I feel that they're like, well, if they're selling out this fast, why don't we make another event and make another event? And now there's what, 10, 12 events?
No, it's in the teens, actually.
Yeah.
I think there's like 13 events. I was just listening to Michael Narks talk about it. It's crazy how many there is now.
Well, and there's 2 in Canada now, right?
Yeah, there's 2 in Canada this year. Next year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Rich, where do you live? Alberta?
Yeah, if you know where Montana is, I'm like 7 hours north of Montana. quarter.
What's the temperature there right now, Rich?
Let me see if I can find it in Fahrenheit for my American friends.
Well, you said it was 27 below Celsius, I think, earlier, right?
Sounds cold.
It is. It's like 30 below Celsius.
Red Deer? Are you in Red Deer?
Yeah. It's -9 Fahrenheit right now. Feels like -29 though, because it's windy. And then on Tuesday, it's going to be -20 Fahrenheit.
Whew. No thanks.
No thanks. Yeah. It's 6 here right now and it's cold.
Well, that's what we call that's like ultra boost weather.
Yeah.
Yeah. So John, actually, I wanted to, I think Rich can chime in on this too, since him and I both run C16 at the track. I think you had said you hadn't tuned on it, but it slowed down. It's a much slower burning fuel, and I think you're going to see changes in timing is probably where your tune is going to change.
Well, and it was so, when I found out I couldn't get the fuel, and then I didn't want to trying to get with my tuner to retune that car, it would literally be he's like, I'm months out. He's like, put C16 in it. It's going to be fine. Just watch the oxygen sensors. Make sure if it starts to kill those, you bring some with you and put it in. And I really do think the car did slow down a little bit on that fuel. I mean, it probably wasn't a significant amount, but it's still, I think it took easily 0.2 out of that car. Because on that other stuff, I mean, the car was constantly going 124 in the eighth and 158 in the quarter. And then when I put C16 in it, it lost 4 miles an hour on both ends.
Yeah.
Wow.
I feel like the tuning window will be larger, but
Yeah.
I mean, I know you especially work with Matt more, but I think the timing could be more aggressive on that fuel because it's.
I had talked to Matt about that, and he was like, yes, timing is going to be an issue. And that guy is really good. He's great because I hardly know him, and he will answer any question I send his way, which is really awesome. I mean, there's not a lot of people out there that will stop what they're doing for someone they hardly know and say, hey, this is probably what's going on, you know. And I think he may have even offered to help me retune that car. So
yeah, that's
and he
awesome.
will. He loves it. Like, and he's in my opinion, what makes Matt special is because he tunes a bunch of OEMs and he's smart enough. I think it was Bill or something called him a savant the other day, and he's not far off. But he'll look at what the OEMs do, and he will just about every time he's in my car and we're on a trip, he is adjusting all kinds of things, and I have to go back and look to see what he's been playing with. But he knows that the OEMs have tons of time and tons of engineering in, so he'll incorporate all that kind of stuff into my tune, and it's amazing what he can do. And he's not afraid to help people, and he wants to teach people so they can do it themselves. It's not like he's closed book on it. So
yeah, he literally rode in my car for 20 minutes, and the drivability is so significantly better. It's ridiculous. Like it's fantastic.
What did he change the AFR going down the road? Lean it out?
For my car, no. I was a little lean and he fattened it up, and it actually gets better mileage since he did that.
What do you get around, driving around? And can you drive on pump gas around town?
I do. I drive on pump gas. If I don't have the trailer on it and I drive it like a sane human being, it'll probably get 20. But keep in mind that I've got a 0.5 overdrive. So literally 85 miles an hour is like 1700 RPM. With the trailer on it, depending on wind and stuff, like 12 to 16 ish, right in there.
What about you, Rich?
Empty, it'll get 22. Towing a trailer, 16 to 18. Now I have a 0.5 and a 3.5 rear gear, so I'm 1700 is 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, he's got a little less gear than I run. 370. We're very close.
I need to do that conversion on my 56 because I'm still 68 on, or no, yeah, 68 on my sixth gear. I need to put the 50 in there and whatever that other, the fifth gear ratio is, because that's
Yeah.
easy enough to do on the tree Mac or on that
the
Magnum.
the fifth stays the same. I will tell you that the split now between fifth and sixth isn't nearly as nice. Like I've got to be rolling to put it into sixth, or it really is too much drop. But for the Dragon drives, dude, they're,
Or if you're going to drive to Florida, like 3,000 miles, 0.5 is pretty awesome.
Like literally on race weeks, nobody passes Rich and I. I mean, our cars are so comfortable.
Sounds like a challenge. Challenge
like 90
accepted.
miles an hour. It's so comfortable at 90 miles an hour. It's just smooth down the road. The engine is it's like a high idle, as Rich says. It's so much less wear and tear on valve train and everything.
Yeah, I think 2,000 RPM in my car is 100 miles an hour.
Same.
It doesn't, but well, yeah, you have a mild cam, right? So I have a more aggressive cam.
Yeah, I mean, well, so mine's like 700 lift and about 266 in duration.
That's cute.
That's cute.
Aw. That's a cam.
But when I put the turbos on it, it was amazing how it, like before the turbos, you couldn't cruise that thing below 2,200 without it bucking. And
yep.
As soon as I put the turbos on, I kid you not, I can cruise that thing at 1,500 RPM and it's smooth. Yeah, it was one of the benefits of turbos that I didn't have on the Pro Charger or NA. I don't know if it's just the back pressure in the exhaust, but man, it just makes that thing so much more streetable. Gets better fuel economy, makes 1,500 horsepower. It's like, it's almost stupid. Like it's just goofy how much better of a car it made it. But
and yours makes 1,500 horse on like 16 pounds of boost, right? Or 14?
Yeah, it's like 14 or 15.
How big is the turbo?
It's a 94 millimeter turbo.
Oof.
And
but it's got it's like a 521 though. It's a big motor.
Yeah, not as big as Frank's. Mine's just cute compared to Frank's.
It's just cute, yeah.
Yeah, I got to make it up somewhere.
That's why my cam's so cute too.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, the bucking thing I went through with Glenn when he definitely when he had the supercharger on his car, because I had a gear vendor and he didn't. And so he would want to be at a speed that caused my car to be at 2,200 and just surging. And that was with a Dominator. Once we went to fuel injection, it was much, much better.
Yeah.
But it's still not a great RPM.
Right?
Yeah.
So 70, we cruise about 70 to 74, somewhere in that range. That's average. And I'm like 2,600 RPMs, 27, somewhere in that range. But I found out that the car also really likes to be at 3,000. Like it's so smooth at 3,000.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, and that's the thing. You got to know your car, right?
Exactly. I've never cruised it that high, but when we did, because now Glenn's got like, I don't know, he's got a 308 in there or something like that. He's got so much power. He doesn't need any gear. Yeah. Now we're able to go. Now it's just about fuel economy, really. It's like, hey, if we cruise this speed, we're getting shitty gas mileage. If we go this speed, it's much better. Same thing when we drove to Florida with our trucks. He's like talking about getting there. I always lead 99% of the time. Joe and I lead. Usually if he's in the front, he runs something over like a cat. So if you're ever missing a cat, one time we were in the middle of somewhere in the Midwest, and Joe's like, hey, I need some time. Joe will do the navigating all 5 days, but he'll once in a while he'll be like, hey, I want to take a tank of gas off. Like I just want to look out the window for an hour and a half or two. So I'll wave Glenn on. Usually, when he had one of his former co-pilots, they would start sweating because they've never had to engage their brain. And usually when you hand them the directions and tell them to get in front, they start, they got the paper in their hand and they're like, oh.
But I've seen that before.
Yeah, they'll start running cats over. We see a cat come flying out the wheelie bars of his car. Like, hey, what the fuck? That's somebody's pet. Break his balls about that.
Oh
But
my god.
once he went down to the lower gears, it's nice because we can cruise together. Now he complains about the how fast I drive because I bought a new diesel last year. So we're going to Florida in the pouring rain, 85 miles an hour, and we get to a pilot station to fill up, and he's like, hey, we're getting really bad mileage. I'm like, hey, you want to get there or you want to save fuel? Like, I can't do both. Like, I don't have that switch. That button isn't in my car. The do both button.
Nice.
Hey, one thing we glossed over, but you touched on it, Frank, was taking notes on every pass. I was just listening to a podcast with Billy the Kid and his brother with Beaterbaum, and he was talking about his meticulous notes. And I think it's the same with Justin Scheer, like Big Chief. He like meticulous notes. Both you guys, are you very good at writing shit down and recording every pass and all the details?
John doesn't do anything. And he has a bad memory. So it's like John's racing career is like 50 first dates. He knows nothing. He couldn't tell you anything about anything. Right, John? Am I exaggerating?
You're right. But I enjoy that aspect of doing that because it takes, I mean, when you think about everything in life where you have to take notes and shit like that, when I go and do that events, it's still a vacation for me and I'm having a good time. But you're right. I don't pay attention to that stuff. Well, what did you shift at? Oh, the light came on somewhere around 7,400 RPM. Or what did you launch it at? I go, I don't know, somewhere high. So that's just the way I do that. But could I be more successful? I think there's a lot to that, taking notes and stuff like that would help in that area for sure.
How about you, Frank?
Yeah, I data log every run. I look at it. I'm basically looking for problems. Now with this new, and that was with the Big Stuff 3. So there wasn't as much information. And we've added a little bit of technology. We're about to add a little bit more sensors and stuff. There's more things I can look at. And actually what Mark was doing yesterday and what Darren, my new tuner, was teaching me on Drag Week was how to look at that information. I really don't know that much about the new system yet. I'm starting to know. Today was about organizing the information to the year, to the day, the track I was at, which run, number 1, number 2, number 3. Rick Steinke also was talking to me about how he data logs everything. I take pretty good notes and we take video of every single run. So we piece together a picture. I've basically been chasing traction. That's been my biggest thing, moving the clutch around. I was pretty lax about a lot of that stuff about the clutch. I backed into the clutch tune-up a different way than most people do. I had talked to Ram about it. So I didn't want to get under the car because I have to change all 4 tires at the track. And to do that in my car, I have to drop the springs, the shocks, and the sway bar. And now we have not a sway bar, we have what do you call it? ARB.
Anti-roll bar.
Anti-roll bar. So it's a lot of work. I spend, you've seen it. I spend a fair amount of time under the car. The car has to be very high in the air. The springs have to come down. Everything comes down. So I didn't want to fiddle with the clutch as well. But when I talked to Ram, I said, I want to set it at a place where I know it's not going to slip and I can drive down the road. And he's like, I agree with that. And I moved the starting line RPM around. You know what I mean? If the track is good, I'll add a little more. If the track is bad, and how do I ascertain whether it's good or bad? Is I try to get a peek at some of the guys I know that know what's up. Like you don't want to watch a half-wit spin the tire on the starting line.
No wonder you're never up there on the starting line when
I'm never around when you're up there. No, but I never want to base anything I do off anybody else that I don't know has reliable information. You know, if you know guys go up there that you know have their heads screwed on straight, and I won't mention any names, there's plenty of people you can watch. And they're having problems. You want to use that information, you know, to your advantage. And that's how I used to do it. But then, you know, listen, my car started the first year, my best pass was 11:04 at Indy. And Indy's not been a great track for me historically, but you know, now the car goes, you know, faster than 950 pretty much everywhere.
Yeah,
so the car's come a long way. I've had to do more work to get to that point. And we started looking at the clutch and setting it up, loosening it on the starting line, you know, when I'm racing, and tightening it to lead the track.
Yeah, that's what I do every time. I just about take all the base out when I get to the track, and I put 6 turns back in for this track. And I'm driving a long ways, but I'll tell you, I don't know if you've been watching it all, but I tried radials.
I'm going that way. I knew you were going to say it. Steinke and Mark were like looking at some video I sent them from Cecil from mid-October of this year. And I've always gone this way, is to stick the slick to the track, which is counterintuitive to, you know, what people like to do with a slick. But my car, once it spins the slick, it balls it up and does crazy stuff and rattles the tire. And I think that has a lot to do with the SLR, right? It's 14 and change. So it's just destroying the tire. So now we've added probably we've added 2 pounds of air to the tire and improved on it dramatically. But now I'm sticking it to the track to get these good ETs. And Mark was like, listen, I think it's time. Pro bracket radio. Let's go.
That's what I put on mine.
I know you did. And and I know you're pretty happy with it.
Yeah. I broke the transmission at 1.29 into the run, and I still went 140, 60 foot. So I think it was probably on at 135 and 60 foot. But the other thing is, all those tracks in Florida are radial tracks, and our slick, I don't know about you, but our slicks I didn't like those on slicks.
Not at all.
It'll work good on radials down there.
But that first day, how were your 60 foots the day we raced?
Yeah, 151, 150, not very good.
Right.
But I mean, I only went 147 when I went 877 on the third day there. So, but
what about ET on the first day?
9-0, I think.
So was that the best of the week?
No, 877 was the best week.
Oh, 877. Okay.
Yeah.
So I had a first day was the best ET, but none of those tracks, the 60 foot was great.
Yeah. I think it was because I think it was because they were radial prep, and the slicks just balled up and they grabbed so hard. Yeah.
Lonnie said that. He goes, "You don't want to be on this with that." And I said, "Yes, I do," but I didn't. He was right.
Yeah.
So the goal now is to get the car to hook anywhere. So that's my goal before I start spraying it. Get the car to hook everywhere. Be able to put it on the back bumper everywhere. You know, we've taken that out of the car, right? Back in Bristol, when we were in Bristol, I had set the car up to wheelie, and it wheelied all right. It was wheeling in 3 gears. So we took that out of it. And now we're kind of fighting to get back there a little bit to be able to pick the car up like that. But with the Mentor shocks, I don't know if it's a combination of the fact that the car is making so much more power now. At that time, I think it was making 700 and change with the smaller motor. Now it's making 9 and change with this motor. So it's, you know, it's just a different set of circumstances, right? And I haven't figured it out fully, but I need to. That's another reason Mark wasn't in a rush. Like, there's things that I have to learn and have a full grasp on before we start adding power, right?
Yeah.
You know, so that's where I am now.
Frank, John, did we ask how fast? What's your quickest?
896 at 158 miles an hour. And
what's your quickest
I backed
60?
it up at, that was Cecil when we were out there. And then it went, so, you know, the person that I think about when that happened was Jason Dosher, because he come up to me, he goes, okay, you've done it once, but will it do it again? It's, don't praise it until you can back it up. And we took it back to Virginia, and it went in 898 or 897 there. And so, that was reassuring that the car is capable of doing it. But I told Frank this while we were, while we were on drag week this year, because that car had gone eights like 15 years ago. And it took 15 years for it to happen again. And I told Frank when we were on drag week, I said, it probably won't do it again for another 10 fucking years.
Not with that attitude.
Yeah, not with that attitude. Maybe now that those valve springs are in there, it will do it again.
Yeah, it very well could. Yeah.
Sounds like it. Yeah, for sure.
Ask John Enns about attitude. John and Dave Schroeder.
Yeah.
We're at 17, right? We're having some fits. And John started putting some negative talk out there in front of me. And I was like, do not put that out in the universe. I'm like, you can't win this thing until you first believe that you're gonna win this thing. And I just shook him out of it, and they won. And then he saw me right when you were going up to win your trophy. I bumped into him, and he was like shaking me by the shoulders. You were right. You were right. Can't believe it. I'll never forget what you said. Yeah, man. I've kind of known when things were going to go right for me, is because I thought they were going to go right. I kind of felt that they were going to go right, believed they were going to go right. And there's an old saying, I forget if it was Earl, what's his name? Earl Hightower. He said, if a man believes he can, he's absolutely right. And if he believes he can't, he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. I know it. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like when I drove to Florida last year, I mean, I didn't know who was going to show up to sick week. Like, I saw you had registered, and I had no idea. And then we saw Jamie there with the Honda, and he had run like 870s or something. And I'm like, well, it's going to be an interesting week to see if he survives. And but you're right. You got to go in there thinking, well, I have a chance to win this just like anybody else. And I truly believe that. Doesn't matter when you're going. I know Chad's coming to sick week this year, and he wants to run in the sevens all week, but that doesn't mean we can't win.
Man plans, God laughs.
Yeah.
Nice. Rich, you think we should jump into the TKO?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. And I modified your questions, so only one of them, but you'll figure out which one.
Do you want to start?
I'll make sure. So you start, and then you get asked.
All right. So you guys know what a TKO transmission is. It's a 5-speed Tremec transmission. So we have the TKO round. We have 5 questions. So we'll ask you first gear. I'll ask, and you both answer, not at the same time. What is the first car you've owned or modified? John, first.
I put Krager SS wheels on my Volkswagen Beetle.
Nice.
So I would have to say that would be the first car I modified.
72 Beetle, right?
72 Beetle. It had Krager SSs all the way around it.
Badass. Okay.
What was the first car you modified?
Yeah, first car you owned or first car you modified.
68 Olds 98 with a 455 and a 4-barrel.
Nice.
Pass anything but a gas station. And the first modification was to flip the air cleaner lid.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Not sure where Rich went. Could be back on. I'm gonna jump into second. We'll do the second gear since Rich blanked out here for a second. So what, in your opinion, has been the biggest technology change to move our sport forward?
Who's going first, me or Frank?
Yeah, you go, John.
Technology change. Computers. I think that the systems that, like where Frank was, it would be a perfect example of big stuff. And then now going to a Holly system, it just seems that as I watched drag racing over the years, that what cars were able to do with the computer systems had at that time, to compare it to now what people are available to have for computer systems, I think it's dramatically changed the sport, because it makes it to where the average person now, with a little bit of help from someone who knows what's going on, can tune a car better than you probably could 20 years ago. So I think that the software programming, the computer or just the availabilities of like Holly, the Dominators, and all that stuff that's out there now is just astronomical than what it was over the years.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
Frank?
So, yeah, I'm with John with the fuel injection and those systems. So with that said, I would say transmissions, the durability of manual transmissions now. I mean, when I started, the first aftermarket transmission I had, I had a bunch of Muncies and stuff, but the first aftermarket was a Doug Nash 5-speed when they were relatively new. And that was in my Nova. I had a pretty badass Nova, beautiful Nova, which I just sold after like 30 something years to a friend. But I had a Doug Nash 5-speed in that, but you couldn't shift that over like 7,300, 7,400. It wouldn't. Eventually the main shaft and the cluster would move apart and it just become problematic and not shift. But now, like this GF5R, I mean, I've had this thing for 6 years, and knock on wood, it's been flawless. I just don't think about it, I guess so. I guess materials, right? I mean, if you break it right down, it's like the metallurgy in these things nowadays. My rear end is something I don't think about, and my transmission is something I don't think about.
Bill's laughing. You are getting older, Frank. You might want to keep an eye on your rear end.
One of them can leak, but the other one can't.
Leaky O-ring affects a lot of things.
Okay, this is
go ahead.
This is a new question. We used to ask, what was your day job? But now the question is, if you could spend one day with someone, who would that be, and what would you do? And we're gonna leave it wide open. You can go back in the past, or could be tomorrow, wherever you want. Try to not make it sexual.
I would spend it with my younger self. I would coach my younger self, because I've endured a lot of unnecessary worry through the years. This is kind of plays off that thing. If you could write your younger self a letter, what would it say? And I did that years ago. Wrote the letter to my younger self. I started my business when I was 25 years old. So there's a lot of worry. I had my daughter was born 31 days later, and I pushed all my chips in when I was 25 years old and had a baby on the way. That was a big balls moment.
Wow.
But it didn't come without a lot of anxiety. So it may sound arrogant, but I think that would probably be, knowing what I know now and telling my younger self all this information that I have now about life and about mistakes I've made and about moments that it could have maybe squeezed a little more joy out of them, or people I could have spent more quality time with, and just having the wisdom I have now, I would like to share that with my younger self. As arrogant as that sounds. I may not be much, but I'm all I ever think about.
Okay, good luck following that up, John.
Exactly. What was read the question again.
I said, if you could spend one day with somebody, who would that be? And what would you do?
I'm staring at him. I would spend it with Frank Romano.
Nice.
Great
And what, would,
choice.
and what would you do?
Well, what I've learned.
Hold him down and make him my bitch now. Let's hope.
What I've learned from that guy over the last 10 years, I can remember the first time I met Frank Romano, I was scared of him. I know exactly where it was, in Bowling Green. And I was under my car, and you and Glenn and Glenn's co-pilot came walking by and offered me help because I had just burnt like a starter wire. I had jacked the car up, and the battery positive cable runs underneath the K-member, and I jacked it up and it arced and it almost caught the fucking car on fire. And you guys were there. But what I've learned over the years about being more spiritual and thinking about things have come from Frank. So, I mean, it's cliche, but the guy, you're a really good person. And I take to heart what you have to say to me. I know you cringe what you want, but you've helped me out a lot in the recent years. And you know what I'm talking about. What he said about his younger self is true to me too, because after I did what I did to myself in my transformation, if I knew what I know now, if I knew then, I would have changed a long time ago. Because not only did it change me physically, it changed me emotionally, spiritually, everywhere. It changed me from head to toe. So I'm a better person from it, and knowing people like everybody on this screen has made me a better person. So
thank you, John.
You're welcome.
That's awesome. That's a great add to the questions. Hey, Bill.
I really like the change you made to the question. That's awesome. Yeah. So since I took 1 and 2, you take 3 and 4.
Okay. Yeah. Geez, after that question, though, these other ones are boring.
Yeah.
What influences you to build your cars? Either one can go first. Whoever's got it.
God, it's not girls, because I just don't think girls like fast cars anymore.
No.
I mean, when I was in high school, it was, but now it's they give two shits about it. And it's funny too, because I took somebody for a ride in that car of mine just recently, and she is someone who's been around me since I've made my transformation, and I did a full bogey pass in that car on an on strip, all 4 gears, wide open throttle, the whole 9 yards. And she looks over at me and goes, "Now I know why you do this." And,
Nice.
That's why it came full circle, that there was actually someone understood why I go out and do that. I mean, it's an adrenaline rush. So I build it for the excitement of being around people and doing that kind of stuff. And it's what I do. It's what I've always done. Sure, it started on the street, but now it ends on the drag strip. So
awesome.
Your guys' answers make me want to answer these questions too.
I was gonna say at first, before John said what he said, the first thought I had was ego. I think I get a pretty good stroke on my ego from the response of the car. You know, a lot of people, whatever the compliments or whatever. But there's another piece of it that I think that I'm aware of now, and that's that I'm very present in the car. When I'm in the car, I'm not somewhere else. Kind of like the same thinking patterns I have when I'm on the motorcycle. I have a pretty big life. I have a lot of people that count on me at my business. I have 3 children. One of them's an adult. She's 31, but 2 young children, a home. We have another piece of property. I just have a lot of thoughts per square inch all day. I have many things going on simultaneously. I'm trying to teach myself to be an electrician because my electrician is busy now. I'm shocking the shit out of myself over here. And, but like when I'm on the motorcycle, I'm forced to pay attention, especially because of the density of population here and the lack of respect for people on the road these days. So like when I'm on my motorcycle, I'm on my motorcycle. I'm not thinking about taxes or, gardening or picking anybody up from school. I think it's the same thing in the car. It provides an opportunity for me to be in the moment. When I'm on the starting line, I am hyper focused on what I'm doing. When I'm at the track and I'm trying to be a better version of myself, and I'm like Rich said, taking notes, figuring out why the car did what it did, or celebrating what the car did. I'm really there. I'm very present, and a lot of things. I don't know. I've just been on a pretty steep learning curve of what's important, what's not important, and being very present in the car. When we did that stick shift thing for Hot Rod, at that time I was like, I was only a few years into the meditation thing, and that was really a game changer. And it's funny. I know a lot of people have come up to me and said that they've utilized that information and that has helped them. And yeah, John,
Yeah, I double boat people all the time now. No, that's not what you meant.
Apparently you're not even aware of it. You're so in the moment. But yeah, so I think that being present, I think I appreciate that about
honestly, it's why I do jiu-jitsu, because it's really hard to think about anything else when someone's trying to choke you out.
I bet.
You better be paying attention. But honestly, if I go there and I'm exhausted from work and sitting at a desk all day, and then when I'm done, every time I just feel so much better because it's cleared my mind. Not from being unconscious.
Just like going to the gym.
Yeah, exactly.
I leave a different person. I show up one person, I leave being somebody else. And that person is, if you come and talk to me after I've worked out, I don't have a filter, and it's really not present after I work out. And some of the clearest thoughts in my mind happen at that time. And if you wanted the truth about anything and you asked me about it, you would get 100% how I felt about it without sugarcoating it at all. So it's just, I'm most definitely a freer, clearer soul after I work out. So
because you don't have the fucking energy to lie or bullshit after that. You're exhausted from lifting up the foundation of a house.
Oh, shit.
Like, John, can you help me? You're too fat. You're just too fucking fat.
All right, so let's take it into fifth gear. What, in your opinion, is the secret to stick shift racing, drag racing?
John,
boy, oh boy, that's
you got the trophy, sir.
Yes,
what do you mean? We've all had the trophy.
You have it now.
I have it now.
Not this guy. I haven't had it.
Get to work.
Secret to stick shift racing. I'd have to say my secret's different than all the people on this Zoom call right now. My secret has never been. My secret is don't fix it until it's broken.
Do nothing.
Do nothing.
Do nothing.
Dude,
wait.
I would have fixed those belt springs once they were broken.
Secret to stick shift racing. Good parts.
Yeah.
Good. Spend the money on the good stuff. It's no fun to be broken.
Well, I think if you don't spend the money on the good parts, you're going to spend it twice and you'll end up spending twice as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's more than one secret, right? Like,
there is.
Yeah,
there's lots.
There's so many, right? But
yeah.
My secret to making a stock T56 Magnum last over 10 years is the horn from a unicorn. I shave it and I put it in the fluid.
I believe that.
Yeah, I do believe that. Yeah.
Now, both Bill and Rich, you guys both have T56 Magnums, but they've been modified by G-Force.
Correct. Their face
What's
plated
been modified? Now it's my turn to ask a few questions. I want to get something out of this.
Yeah.
So whichever one can go first. What's done to your T56 Magnum and what's stock in it?
So first through fourth are all face plated. So they no more synchros, and they just have lugs on them. Now they're not straight cut gears like yours are. There's but G-Force does build their own gear set, so they're a little beefier.
It has a little less twist than the stock ones, so it's a touch noisier, but it does that for strength.
And then fifth and sixth gear are stock. The clutch forks on the G-Force one, the 3-4 was a billet steel one, and mine was my 1-2 was stock, but I just broke it, so now I have a Tick Performance one in it, so I don't break it. And I think that's it. So the main shaft is stock, the counter shaft is aftermarket, and the input shaft, which is fourth gear, it's G-Forces as well.
I think no, main shaft is not. It's a G-Force Part 2.
In the old one it was, but in these ones it's actually, as far as I understand, Bill, I think that the main shaft is stock in the Magnums, but it wasn't in the T56s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you need to buy one, you can get one off the shelf, I think.
Okay.
What would you do differently? And you both have the same exact transmission?
Yeah.
It's like a part number for G-Force. The modification is whatever. This level 2 T56 Magnum or whatever.
Yeah, G-Force doesn't sell them like that. It's like this box or not. I don't even think they sell stock ones. Like this is the one you get.
Yeah, this is what they used to do is take a T56 gear set and faceplate and do all that kind of stuff and put it in a Magnum case, and then myself, Bill, Cletus, there's about 10 that they put out there to try that were actually G-Force gear sizes because they were a little bigger, because I did break the other one. And so, yeah, that's what they sell now, is they sell this new version that Bill and I are running.
Oh, and
I wouldn't change anything, actually.
Yeah.
Like,
and to add to it, we have a Tick makes a billet front cover for it. Yeah, which they say adds rigidity to the case. Like, I don't know that I've ever seen a case failure. We've seen gears fail that wreck the case, but and it has a spray bar in it, because when you accelerate, all the fluid goes to the back of the transmission. It's just splash lubrication. So with a pump, then that spray bar sprays second, third, and fourth gear, and because without that, you end up burning up the cluster.
What starts that? What is that powered 24/7 when the car is running?
No, that's a good question. So, like, I have a Holly also, and mine is set to come on at 3,500 RPM.
So not when you're driving down the road.
Well, if you're driving 3,500 RPM down the road.
Not when you're doing 1,100 RPMs to go 88 miles an hour.
That's correct. No, it's no, going down the road, it's not. But like when I'm on the two-step on the starting line, it's on. So it's actually running before, because I, launch 4,500, 5,000, something like that. So it's on. Yeah.
This is where Frank says, that's cute.
Yeah. That's
And hey, guys, laughing right now at your cam. It's all right. It's like
mine's even smaller, and it's a hydraulic.
Yeah, I think you told me that at Midwest, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah, I wasn't on a hydraulic then, but I am now.
My engine builder a few years ago, I happened to be by a shop one day, and I could see he was frustrated. And I said, what's up? And he's like, man, we have more problems with hydraulic lifters right now than we do with solids. It's like more people are having trouble keeping the hydraulic lifters in their cars.
Interesting.
Than solids.
Huh. Yeah.
All right. What else? Okay. So there's not another transmission out there that you would buy.
No.
No.
Do you carry spares, either of you?
Of course they do.
I do not, but I do carry spare parts. And Rich,
yeah,
and you know how to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I last time I went to Florida, I didn't carry a spare transmission, but I had pretty much a full gear set.
I love what John said about you. By the way, your dad, I mean, just seeing the guy and talking with him, and I just have this, I have a real affection for older people. You know, my grandmother was like my favorite person, taught me. I listened to her the most about life lessons, and she never put them in any kind of preachy way. But and I have a lot of affection for your dad, the way he and for you for bringing him with you. I think it's super cool and admirable. But John and I were not far from you when you were under the tree over there at Bradenton. And and then John goes, I said something about you being there. He goes, yeah, I saw him. He's over there loading his entire life back into the trunk of it. I was dying. Like when you unload your car, you're like a gypsy. You got that shit spread out over an acre.
It's a yard sale.
Yeah,
I got a yard sale going on.
It's like a gypsy yard sale. He's loading his entire life into the trunk of his car.
It's pretty, yeah.
You used to carry a transmission back there. I remember seeing you pull it out.
Oh yeah,
guy's got
yeah. I'm bringing one. I'm bringing one this year again, actually, because after breaking something I didn't have a spare of, I would have been screwed in Oklahoma. I would have had to try to get a clutch fork to get myself home. But because I had a spare stock T56, 2 hours later I was back on the road driving home.
Yeah.
What did you just do? What was that event? I didn't really.
It's called King of the Open Road. It's just a 3-day drag and drive. So first day was supposed to be testing, but it was snowing. And then second day was a 200-mile drive in Oklahoma. It was beautiful through it was just amazing, the drive. And then it was supposed to be a couple of test passes on the Saturday to qualify, and then another test pass on Sunday, and then eliminations. And then I drove home 1,800 miles through a snowstorm. And
I saw that.
Yeah. After breaking my 9-inch and the transmission, because the transmission went in 2 gears, turned itself into a trans brake, and it sheared the pinion right off. So, but I had a 9-inch because I was trying radials for the first time, and I thought I better bring some spare parts, because if these things work, great, but if they hit everything too hard, I could break something. So,
did you change your clutch setup?
Actually,
Soften it or anything?
I have 2 clutches. I have a 11-inch 6-finger from Kale, and I have a dual 8-inch, same as Grubworm was running when he went 661. And I couldn't figure out how to get to work, but it was just a bit of my education and maybe my communication with Rob Youngblood. But once I threw some counterweight on that, like I said, I think the first launch I had with the new clutch was a 141. Second one was a 144, and then when I broke, I'm pretty sure it was. So yeah, it's slipping a lot more. The curve looks different than the other clutch.
Where does it grab?
It actually wasn't grabbing at one
at all.
At 1.3, no, but it was grabbing and pulling hard. It just had it locked up. So I'm hoping that it's going to lock up at like 1.35 or something. But the old clutch was locking up at 0.7 into the run. Like the 11-inch single, it would lock up at 0.7, and you'd see the curve go. It would slip, and then grab, and then take off.
So you consider it grabbing when it's parallel with the
yeah. I don't have an
RPM.
Input. Yeah, I don't have.
Oh, you don't have an input sensor.
Yeah, so I'm kind of guessing, but you can tell. You can pretty much tell when it's straight lining. It's locked up.
What about you, Bill?
So I run a digital clutch controller, the Bankship Billy.
Yeah.
So I have a diaphragm clutch, but it's a twin disc centered iron. It's pretty aggressive. But with that,
whose make?
It's a Ram Pro Street
930 or something. Dual friction, or it's centered iron on both sides?
Both discs are centered iron. It's a 10
on both sides.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. 10.5 inch. And it's not like that clutch doesn't come that way. So Kale set it up for me originally. And I've actually put 10-inch discs in it and it works really well too. So
Twin 10.5.
originally, yes, but I tried in Oklahoma. I put twin 10-inch discs in it and it worked fine. So I'm more inclined to go smaller and smaller until it won't hold. But then with that, with the digital clutch controller, I can make adjustments via an app on my phone.
I know, I
how
saw
to
that.
slip that thing on the hit.
But can you see a data log? Do you data log your runs?
Yes, of course.
And where is it grabbing? Where is it locked up with the RPM 1-to-1?
Well, I can really adjust that with the app, but what I've done is looked at Rich's data log, and I usually slip the clutch for about 1 second total. And I'm still fine tuning stuff because now, like in Oklahoma, like I had some pretty good settings that worked. But then I figured out how to use the boost builder. And instead of launching on 1.5 pounds or 2 pounds of boost, I was like 6 or 7 pounds. Well, then it was just blowing through the clutch because it was making, I don't know, a couple hundred horsepower more on the hit. So I need to adjust those settings. But really, on the runs where I've had it dialed in previously, when you look at my data log and Rich's, they're almost indiscernible. Like they're very, very similar as far as the way it comes up and slips and then goes right to the gear change. There's absolutely no dip off the two-step. It doesn't dip at all. It just slips and goes up. So it's a different way to do it. Yeah. So, but it seems to work.
Sure.
Just got to get it dialed in.
John, you would say something?
No, I didn't say anything.
Whose ECU do you guys have? MS3 Pro?
Yeah, I have an MS3 Pro Evo. Yep.
Yeah, and I run a Holly Dominator. Okay. Holly Dominator. Yeah.
Stock ECU.
FOMO Co.
Yeah.
Laughing, but the guy's going 8s with used valve spring, like
That's right. That's right. So since Rich and I both run a T56, it's got 6th gear. So we got the T56 question for you.
Oh yeah.
I have a 6-speed.
Nice.
Yes, he
five plus a gear bender.
Nice. That works.
Actually 8-speed. I got first over, second over, and so on.
Nice. So what advice would you give to someone getting into this sport?
You gonna go, John?
No, you're going first.
Definitely.
Question.
I would say definitely do it with a stick shift. And I've said this before. There's going to be races you win. There's going to be races you lose, but you're always going to be having more fun with a stick shift. And there's so much more driver involvement, and you're so much more involved in the outcome of what the car does. Whereas an automatic, I feel, and no disrespect, it's not like an automatic is thinking proof, but let's face it, it's the reward of winning a stick shift race is so much greater because it has so much more to do with you. You're so much more involved in the outcome.
Well, it's not shifting automatically.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little bit harder. It's always going to be more fun. And I think that alone, the fact that you're having a good time, whether you win or lose, is enough for me. But I guess my real advice would be build a lighter car than 4,000 pounds. Probably win a lot more races. I mean, I really didn't think this through.
Yes.
I think if I was to give any advice, it's basically have fun doing it. Don't overthink it. Don't go out like you're gonna burn the world down right out of the gate. Work your way up to it. I mean, that's just the thing. When I go out and do it, I'm more worried about having fun than I am anything else. And there's been a couple times Frank's been told me that, a couple occasions where maybe last year or 2 years ago, when there was a good possibility I could have took that trophy home again. And I said something to Frank on the last race. I go, I don't care, because I've already had it and I've already taken it home. And that was a goal of mine, and doing it again wasn't that big of a deal. So once again, probably not the right mindset or the right attitude, but I don't go out to always win. I go out to have a good time with the people and the people around me and have fun. But winning is a positive sometimes, but it's not always a necessity.
Oh, that's awesome. It's, a couple of times we mentioned this. Frank, you were touching on it. When I go to a race and I know Bill's there, all I want to do is beat Bill. And all I want to do is race Bill. And half the time, I don't care if I beat him on that pass or not. It is so fun when we're at the top of the track, parachutes out. And, it's just like, that was, I drive all the way across the country just to do that.
Same thing happened to me this year. I tried to line up with Frank all goddamn fucking week long, and it literally came to Friday, and we were able to get it done because someone said something to hey, these two guys want to race.
Yep.
And, it was awesome that it was to happen, and we got it done. And that's all I really wanted to do all week long was to have a race with Frank.
Check out the background picture.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly. Great. Like I would have drove all the way across the country just for that. It's funny you mentioned that, because I was watching Drag Week and all I was waiting for was you two clowns to line up against each other. And then when I saw it, I'm like, oh, and I don't know if I actually caught it live stream, but
starting line. I red lit. Oh, I was so mad. And I outran him.
And he outran me.
So let me give a huge shout out to Stick Shift Nation and Travis for hosting this podcast. You guys, people listening, you can find Clutch Burners podcast on 10 different platforms. YouTube for the video one, you get all this good looking right here. And if you'd like to see the podcast continue and grow, head over to stickracing.com and grab a Stick Shift Nation shirt, hat, or sticker. And you can also get Clutch Burner stickers. They're live. If you want to grab one, go over to stickracing.com. I think this is probably the longest podcast we've done so far. We're like 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours in. This is awesome.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for your time. I mean, I knew this was going to be a blast.
Yeah.
And a long one, but we really appreciate both your guys' time. We know you're both busy. You got lots going on, and it's probably
not too busy for you guys. Thank you for asking me, us, and I hope this thing grows. It's been a lot of fun. I knew it would be.
Yeah.
And I'm just happy to be part of anything Stick Shift. Really
awesome. Well, thanks, Frank. I mean, you've been an influence here. Yeah, you guys have both been an influence to me. I know for sure. So,
agreed. Ditto. Anybody that knows you guys, you're, just elevating games everywhere. Like having a beautiful car, go fast, and drive all week. I mean, I always say it. If you do this once, you'll do it again. If you go and do a drag and drive event, you will be more in love with your car, more involved in the sport, more appreciative of the country. And it's just such a great thing. I've seen more of the country through the window of my 55 Chevy than any other car I own. Made, the ripple effect, right, of everything we do, like knowing you guys, that would have never happened had it not been for drag and drive events, right?
That's exactly.
A fact. People we know because of drag and drive events. It's pretty remarkable.
Across the world, the people we know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. 100%.
I had a good time.
Awesome. Thanks. We'll
leave you with a
on one
beautiful,
second.
even though I know Bill thinks his face is real pretty, but it ain't prettier than that.
It definitely is not.
Prettier than that.